When I drove the Nissan Z last year, I liked it. I mean, it had lots of positives, some downsides, but mostly positive. So, when I had the chance to drive it again, I couldn't say no. Hence, welcome everybody then to the 2024 Nissan Z. The car I drove last year was the 9-speed automatic, and this one is the 6-speed manual. Let's see how this 400 horsepower rear wheel drive manual sports car is. So, the 2024 Nissan Z 6-speed manual. What's different compared to the car I drove last year? To be honest, not too much. For starters, the paint is different. That was a grey dual tone with a black. This is a blue with dual tone black. And honestly, I like this color a lot. In fact, this color and the neon sort of lime yellow they have, the launch spec, I like those colors a lot. And I think the Z looks the best in those shades. This particular shade also looks very good, especially in the sunlight when it pops and it's clean. I think it's one of the better looking cars, and lots of people have been looking at me and been giving me thumbs up on the road here, which I didn't expect. Obviously, this is not a very popular car, and Nissan hasn't sold too many. So whenever people see it, they are fascinated. So overall, on the looks front, I like it, and I feel like overall the people also do like it, especially from the rear. I like this throwback to the old 240Z this generation, with the twin spoke lights with a modern take on it. I think it looks really good. What's different then? This car has a Z Performance Pack, which is obviously comes at an extra cost. But what does that get you? Well, it does get you a bit more power, slight bump in horsepower, I think 10 or 15 more horsepower. You do get a sportier exhaust and you get bigger intakes, which you can hear a lot when you are driving this car at higher RPM, but you can definitely hear them and it does sound really good. Rest, it's a Z. So it is a strict two-seater car with a decently big size boot. I mean, the tailgate does open and you can put in lots of stuff. Honestly, I just moved homes. So I had to do lots of shopping for the home and I was surprised how much this car took in. The rest of the interior, it's got the same Nissan screen with only wired CarPlay and Android Auto. You've got a manual handbrake. You've got lots of elements that remind you of the older Zs like the 350Z and the 370Z. So you've got the similar looking door handles and lots of elements here and there that would remind you that this is quite essentially the Z. Interior plastic quality is a lot to be desired. I feel like some places don't feel worthy to the price tag this car is sold at. So that's kind of my only downside of the car. I wish the interior just felt more premium. Driving dynamics, well, I'll explain more in that when I actually drive this car. But yeah, on the looks and the practicality front, the Z is really not that bad. And it's not too uncomfortable as well. I've been daily driving this, I've been driving to work, I've been driving literally everywhere, and it's not too bad. Honestly, for the price point, I don't know why people aren't buying this much. I know this does go up against some fabulous cars like the Toyota Supra, the BMW Z4, and the likes. And definitely, when it comes to feel good factor, those cars are way better. But as a whole, this car is still not that bad. And honestly, I would like more people to buy this car. I'm now behind the wheel of the 2024 Nissan Z 6-speed manual. So let's get the numbers out of the way. It's the same. So it has 400 horsepower from a 3-liter turbocharged V6. It's called the VR series engine. It's not the VQ, as I mentioned in the previous review as well. The only change is the 6-speed manual. So the manual shifter is like a golf ball shifter. And let's see how this rear wheel drive sports car drives. So put it into first, and as you can see, it requires a lot of help. Oh, and the clutch, yes, that's another downside. The clutch is really not that good. The bite point is very weird. It's very difficult to get it right, and in city traffic it's actually very difficult to have a very smooth transition into each gear. I'm driving very relaxed right now. I'm on a perfect tarmac right now, and the ride is good. Honestly, it's not that bad, and the combination of the seats, which I find a tad too narrow for my body frame. I am on the bigger side. Slimmer, fitter people will fit much more nicely. But yeah, overall, it's the combination of the seats and the suspension, and overall, it feels good. Considering this has
35 profile tires, 19-inch, those raised wheels, the forged wheels, they look really good. And the 35 profile is definitely the lower side, but the combination of the ride, it's really not that bad. You can definitely daily this. I've been driving in Toronto roads, and we all know how Toronto downtown roads are. They are quite full of potholes, so it's still very much manageable. But yeah, it feels very good. You do have the exhaust singing in the backdrop at all times. I mean, I am at a low RPM, and I feel like this is a valved exhaust, so every time you reach higher RPM, so if I drop a gear, and you do have rev match, which you have a physical button to turn off and on, but if now you can hear it's louder, and if I floor it, oh, yeah, it's loud, and it has that very much Nissan VQ noise. You can hear that high-pitched noise, which is a taste. Some like it, some don't. I like it. I just wish it was a bit louder, but overall it's actually not that bad, and it feels really sporty, very nice. The steering feels very good, it weighs well, but the rack itself is on the slower side. Personally, I wish the rack was a bit faster, especially that this is such a tail happy car. A faster, more accurate steering would help with, you know, fighting the correction, and maybe, oh, that was the lane keep. So this car does have lane keep as well, and it does have adaptive cruise as well. But as I was saying, the steering I wish was a bit more agile. That would help correct and catch slides, because this does snap without any warning. So if a faster steering would help you catch it a bit better. But yeah, otherwise it's a nice car. The only my gripe in the driving whole dynamics is the gearbox. This shifter is honestly the biggest letdown of this whole package. I've driven the automatic last year, and I felt that it had way too many gears. 9 gears is too much. It's always in the wrong gear, it's always in a higher gear, but you do have the option of manual override with the paddles. This being a 6-speed, you would expect it to be better tuned. The ratio spacing is perfect, but the shifter itself, it requires too much heft, and it has so much vibration. Like, I don't know if it's going to capture on camera, but this shifter is always moving and vibrating at all times. Reminds you of an old diesel truck. The clutch, not the best. The gearbox, honestly, I don't want to say this, but it's like the biggest letdown, and it's a big downer. I had high expectations that maybe the manual would be way better than the automatic, but it isn't. And if you want to buy the Z, I think the automatic is the way to go. And I know enthusiasts don't want to hear that, but I'm sorry, it is what it is. This shifter could have been it could have really revolutionized or transformed the fortunes of the Z in the market, and it isn't good enough, and it's sad. So if you want to buy the Z, please stick to the automatic. You have the brakes, the Brembo brakes, which feel really good. Pedal feel is really good. Stopping power is like bang on. And otherwise, as I said, you know, the dynamics, if you can live with the handling, the snap ability of the rear, it's not that bad. But you have to be really skilled and really aware. Oh, the rev match, the engine sounds so very good. I just came to a stop sign, and braking was so easy. Honestly, it's not that bad car to live with. It's just that the shifter is the biggest letdown. I wish it was better. See, like, it's just impossible to start smoothly in this car. But yeah, it's good. I mean, as a sports car, it's good. And I wish you had better tires. And I mean, if someone has to buy the Z, if I were to buy the Z, my first stop after taking delivery would be to a tire shop and put some Pilot Sports on this. These potentials are not good enough. But let's hear that engine. And there's turbo lag, and then it picks up after 3000 RPM, and then it pulls really hard. Oh, nice. Very nice. It's really good. Honestly, engine is just fabulous. Handling is good. Looks fabulous. Interior could have been better. I wish the plastics felt better, but again, not that much of a deal breaker. The real deal breaker is the transmission. I really wish Nissan actually made a proper fun slick gearbox. This sports car would have been tough to beat.
In conclusion, then, the 2024 Nissan Z Performance Pack. Honestly, I've enjoyed my time with the car. It has lots of good positive points. There are some downsides though, and that might be the deal breaker for me. And the first one is the interior. Visually, it's not that bad, but when you touch and feel some parts, especially the main touch points, they don't feel as premium or as worthy of the price tag. Secondly, the 6 speed manual. It's way too notchy, way too rubbery, and the throws are really just not in tune with what a sports car should have. I know sports cars are supposed to be fun, but this manual gearbox is everything but fun. It's too heavy, too crude. Honestly, I wish Nissan had fitted a much more slick gearbox because this engine has lots of potential. And I know it's very funny to say, but if I were to buy the Z, I'd perhaps just get the regular automatic. And I know that's not something enthusiast wants to hear, but in this case, the automatic is way better than the manual. Otherwise, it still drives really well. I mean, it's got oodles of torque, the engine sounds really good. And yes, if you do buy the car, then please, for the love of God, change the tires. These stock tires, the Bridgestone Potenzas, are really not good enough for this chassis, for this engine. I mean, mid corner, remotely, you just get on the throttle and the car just wants to snap. That that playful character, it's good, but it can get out of hand very quickly, and you can very easily perhaps spin or maybe just lose it mid corner, and it can be very catastrophic. So, I mean, if you want to really buy the car, please just change the tires to maybe something like Pilot Sports or just some better tires than these Bridgestone. It might just make a world of a difference. At $61,000 for this 6 speed manual with the performance pack and this paint, this dual tone paint, which is a $1,200 option, it's not that bad value. And honestly, you can definitely live one. And I know for one that many dealers have lots of stock on these cars available. So if you're really serious about buying one, you might just be able to get a really, really good deal. And that's perhaps the only plus point of the Z. You can have a sports car for a very good deal, have fun, and just live the sports car life. I mean, if I were in the market for a sports car, this might not be my top contender, but I won't rule it out.